I'm Daniel Pearl. I'm the cinematographer on Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Larry Carroll, editor.
And I'm Ted Nicolau. I recorded the sound on the film.
And I'm David Gregory, and I'll be moderating this commentary.
Oh, that should be fun.
Now, you guys all knew each other before.
Oh, yeah.
This
Yeah,
movie.
we'd been in film school together, and then we had our own production. We started Shootout by then, right?
Shootout.
I'm not sure because it
No, I
was
think
just,
Shootout came after.
Yeah.
This was we were film students, and you were like our TA or something.
you,
Yeah.
at that
you were
time.
a year ahead of us, I think. in graduate
about a
school.
year, yeah.
And we had just finished. I know because I made a bold statement. And when we graduated, I was 23 at the time. I said, "Guys, I will shoot a feature film by the time I'm 35." And then 3 weeks later, the phone rang. So I know that it was. We had just finished. Ted and I just finished getting our master's degrees 3 weeks earlier, before I was called.
And we were just film students, and suddenly I got the job as a sound recordist because the guy that they really wanted, Courtney Gooden, who was my mentor in sound, was busy shooting another film in San Antonio.
The infamous One-Legged Girl movie.
Yeah.
A lot of our good friends chose to go on that one. They said, "This horror film's never going to do any business. We're going on this one-legged girl movie."
What was the one-legged girl movie?
Exactly. Very good friend, a mutual friend of all of ours, Jim Bogart, who later became my gaffer. He regretted it dearly that he made the wrong decision.
So was this stuff shot after production
This
wrapped?
was-
These
yeah.
flash
Yeah.
shots, yeah.
Did you shoot them, Daniel?
No, no. Toby did this and a this crane shot that deals with these same props. Was done after principal photography.
So what had your production company done prior to this?
We didn't form it till afterwards.
Oh,
Well,
I
actually,
see.
we had done the
Oh, we must
thing
have.
because we did the thing for Watching for Bob Woods, the drug bust.
Yeah, we
Oh, that was awesome. I remember that, yeah.
and also we must have had it because we also did the don't drink and drive with where the ambulance pulled
Right,
away
right,
until
yep,
down to
yep.
Martini, and we put it on the air because we used so much blood because we just come from doing this. So yeah, Shootout. Our company was called Shootout, and we basically had some connections with the government, with state governors don't drink and drive, and the Department of Public Safety. So we were making those are the kind of films we were making.
We're
Like I
a
said,
bunch
with the
of
drug bust. And,
potheads doing a film with the Department of Public Safety, the Texas Rangers, about how to do a drug bust.
in my old department, I have to add.
Yeah, not
Yeah, it
Larry.
was. It
Not
was.
Larry, okay? He wasn't a pothead.
No, I was not.
Let's just set that
I
straight.
don't know. I don't remember.
We had to trust somebody who could find the frames in those
Right.
days. You know?
And how did this project come to you?
To me, Toby called me up. I was mind blown. I mean, Toby called me up and said, "Daniel, man, I'm making this little film, and I'd like you to shoot it for me." And I said, "Really?" Because he goes, "I reckon you're the best cameraman in Texas, and I want a Texan to shoot this film." I tried to play it cool. I said, "Well, send me the script. I'll read the script." And I was completely electrified. I was mind blown by it, and to be honest with you, I was surprised that they wanted me to shoot it, and I didn't actually think that I would unless it got started right away.
What had he seen of yours that made him do that?
I
Do you
guess he's
remember?
seen a couple of commercials. I mean, we didn't really know each other.
I think he saw the drug bust.
Maybe
We did a
that's what
film
it
for.
was.
Yeah, we did. It's a opening sequence of it's basically how to conduct a drug bust. But we shot the POV of busting in a house and rushing all the way back to the bathroom.
Does that film still exist?
Probably in the Department of Public Safety
Probably, yeah.
archives.
I don't know.
I
It
want
was
to see it.
amazing. They took us back to the evidence room and showed us they were proud to show us all the pipes and stuff they had confiscated.
Yeah, that's right. I remember going in there to
So you saw something in the script that you thought was
Oh yeah,
was
the script,
special.
the script was very powerful. I mean, when I read the script, saying the hair stand up on the back of your neck, it was right there. It's a very, very strong script.
Do you want to talk about this? Because originally it wasn't in the script. It was a dog and not an armadillo. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
But this is classic Texas.
Yeah, classic
Armadillo.
Texas, and our good buddy, mutual friend of all of ours, who's no longer with us, Bob Burns. I guess he must have had the armadillo. And we're also good friends with an artist, Jim Franklin, who popularized the armadillo quite a bit. So the armadillo was, at that time, was a very important symbol of Texas.
This day, wasn't this like one of the first days we shot? There was a dead horse kind of nearby. There was always a smell of decaying animals, like pursuing the production.
It's interesting, this van, you see, we mentioned earlier that there are two vans. I had a van, Ted had a van. We both got vans around the same time. Ted's was 12 inches longer than mine, a longer wheelbase. So it was decided his would be the picture car and mine would be the grip truck. The smaller one was the grip truck. Give you some idea of the resources we had to make the film.
Did we use any of the university equipment on this film? I was trying to remember.
Yeah, we did.
Did we? Okay.
We, Larry's question, we shot for a week, first week, and they shut us down because they felt like we were just making it up as we were going along, which absolutely was the case. But they had some notion that, you know, to be a tight production, you need to have a shooting schedule, a shooting shot list, and so they shut us down after the first week. They shut us down for a week. The cameras went back to Dallas, to Victor Duncan, and then I think we all had been teaching assistants at one point or another.
Yeah.
And I had my key, and so when we started back up again, I went in and I grabbed the cameras from the university. We never actually brought them back from Dallas, so I think we came back for another 5 weeks. Isn't that right, guys? We shoot total 6 weeks.
About right, about 6 weeks, which is really not that long. I never. Well, I don't know what the original thought was to do it in 3 weeks, but
this van is funny because I'm shooting available light. I didn't have, you know, the technology at that time. HMIs didn't exist. We didn't really have the technology on we started out on an $80,000 budget, right? So we didn't have a lot of bells and whistles and a lot of tools to do this. So shooting in the van with available light, so frequently it's blown out. I mean, you're driving around all the time, but half the time it could have just been standing still. It's so blown out outside, you don't know.
Yeah, that's right. The picture car is actually moving while you were.
something not towed. Yeah.
I was lying in the back of the very back, covered with blankets and Texas heat, mixing.
John Henry Falk. He was the guy that broke the blacklist.
Yeah.
A piece of history. Never got his career back.
I love this shot.
Oh yeah.
So who was it that shut you down, that had the power to shut you down?
The producers and our executive producer and I guess probably Ron Bozeman he was basically the head of production.
Because really, we'd spend the first part of every day just figuring out what to shoot by later in the day.
So did it ever come to a point where there was a shot list during the thing?
Interestingly, yeah, I'll talk about it again. I'll bring it up again, but I'll fill you in at this point. We shut down for a week. There was a shot list. We came back in on the Monday after that week, and I got there before Toby, and I proceeded to set up the first shot on the shot list. And Toby came in and changed it. And then we went through the day, basically not shooting a shot list. Second day, same thing happened. By the end of that day, they realized what we were doing. By the third day, they told us we had to shoot the shot list. But when we get to that day, I'll pick up the story again. It's kind of interesting. Toby said, you know, when I said, you know, I said, oh man, I didn't tell you, Daniel. We're not doing that. I just made that to make him happy. We're not really. I can't really play. I have to do it in Toby's accent. I really need a Dr. Pepper and a cigar in my hands.
Really?
He's off cigars now, by the way.
Is he?
Yeah, he's not.
Sometimes even before they were even
Oh,
dead.
that's horrible.
Yeah.
People shouldn't kill animals for food.
Well, they don't do it like that anymore. Now they got this big air gun that shoots a bolt into their skull and then retracts it. It's just boom, goes boom. And it's...
How were the cast?
You know, it was interesting because they I think we all kind of pretty much just sort of ignored them and worked around them, but they were really working their butts off. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of talent here too.
Were they all Austin talent, or were they come from all over Texas? Do you remember?
Well, Gunnar, I think, was from back east someplace, and the.
Was Gunnar not living in Austin at the time?
I think he was living in Austin
yeah,
at the time. Yeah.
Well, Gunnar's actually Icelandic, and now he's living in Maine. I'm in touch with him every so often.
Yeah.
This
is a great shot.
This is a great shot too, and was unique at the time. It's been copied many times.
Yes.
by many other films have made this shot.
I think we just picked up Dracula.
Where you headed, man?
Sal, you work at that place? Oh, no.
How did you get stuck way out here?
I was at the slaughterhouse.
This for me is when the line between reality and fiction kind of got blurred when he came on the set, because he was so convincing in that character. Even when I run into him now at horror conventions,
Really,
I'm kind of like there's something weird, you know.
Yeah, he was. It wasn't all acting with him, I don't think.
Well, I guess, and Paul had made the conscious decision of staying in character the whole time, regardless of whether he was shooting or not, which was a choice.
Yeah, which made him annoying to all of the other characters, right? He drove them insane.
I was the killer.
Let
Damn.
me see him.
They don't send the heads away. You took these, huh? Yeah.
I mean, did you ever consider shooting, with a still van at this point? Would that have helped to actually to get more footage, or would it have not made that much of a difference?
I don't know that it would have made that much of a difference. And there's there's some subtle things going on. Like you see over his shoulder, there's an umbrella that's blowing in the wind because we're moving. There's a little bit of shake. You see this, the wheelchair's got just a little bit of shake to it occasionally.
Right.
And these just subtle things that say that we're moving. Certainly not the
But is
the trees going by.
Is that like possibly because we weren't seeing dailies until days after we shot
Yeah,
this,
no,
so we
yeah.
didn't realize that
Yeah.
we could have done that, you know?
Absolutely, that's the case. We had no realization. Cause,
Sure would have simplified.
Yeah, it would have. But it certainly would have simplified, especially Ted's job. As a sound recorder. It's all the same to me. I mean, fine, but for him, it's greatly complicated a task.
It must have been a lot of fun in there with you two guys and Toby, and who else was in there behind the camera?
Oh my God!
I think it was just. I don't think.
And then there's somebody driving the van.
Yeah. I don't think there's any other crew in there with the three of us. I think we had to do it ourselves. There wasn't enough room.
Because you were operating yourself too, right?
I was operating, yes.
And Alan Danziger, I think, was actually driving, wasn't he?
He was actually driving, yeah.
Yeah, he was doing the drive.
Yeah, I mean, today we might do something like this with big lights rigged out in front and tow them because they can't see because the lights are in their eyes, etc.
Well, I mean, you did the remake. How different was it when you did the scene in that?
100%. I did exactly that. I had a big trailer. I towed them. I had six big HMIs. I lit them up, and there's a very good balance. I went after it specifically. I don't know. Probably don't want to talk a lot about the remake during this. I don't think.
Okay.
I could go on for a whole time.
It's interesting with this film. I think the way that it, we had to shoot it, and the shooting on 16 millimeter, which don't have the resolution of a 35, but it gives us sort of a nightmarish quality. The images, and it just, first it was a nightmare to be there shooting it, but it was a.
Well, for these parts, there's not a technical difficulty because what happened was the film at the time, the color negative, there was only one. It was 54, whether it be 72-54 or 52-54, either 60 millimeter or 35 millimeter. But it was declared too grainy to make a blow up to 35 millimeter for release prints. So it was dictated that I had to shoot on a film called ECO, which was a Eastman Kodak product, to hopefully give 60 millimeter a chance to shoot things of commercial quality. and it's very fine grained, but at the same time not very light sensitive.
Is it a positive or negative?
It was a positive. It was a
positive,
reverse. It was
yeah.
a reversal stock, and it is ASA 25, which compared to what we shoot today, for minimal exposure, it requires 16 times as much light as we need today for minimal exposure. So it's all fine during this situation because there's lots of light around, but it gets pretty tricky in interiors and at night.
Right, which is the majority of the film.
Yes.
So Larry, in the cutting room, was there like a gigantic amount of footage here? Many takes that you got sorted through?
There were, tons and tons of takes. I think we printed everything. I don't recall that. We did. We printed everything. There was just no way to do it. So we had to sort through everything. And it took a long while just to get the sequence figured out. Fortunately, your most excellent notes were the.
There was no good script notes, or they got lost or something.
If there were script notes, they were no good. But you had like great notes on the
sound reports.
On the sound reports. Unfortunately, you also had a lot of
smart alecky student filmmaker comments. It got me in big trouble with Toby.
Yep, yeah. Toby was very unhappy when he discovered it. I kept them hidden from him as long as I could.
Damn it, Larry, thanks a lot, man.
I think we might all be in trouble with Toby again after this.
So you had critical notices on your notes?
Yeah, because he would do things that I wasn't thinking he should do, and so I just kind of put my protests down, and so it was, it was really immature and stupid.
Yeah, but the information was there. What we needed for script notes was also there. So,
okay. So it's half and half, immature and smart.
Yep.
Larry, do you remember how many takes we used to do normally? We weren't like one to move on, were we? But we also weren't 8 or 9.
Seems like it was 3 to 5 or something.
It depended on the scene,
right.
But it was about 3 to 5. Like this stuff was all shot pretty tightly.
Damn,
some of the stuff when we got in the house was.
That's my van. He's kicking. God. We took the back seat out of the van and left it on the side of the road while we shot this, and neglected to pick it up on the way home, and never saw the back seat again.
Oh, no.
What became of the van?
The van I drove out to L.A. when I moved to L.A. in '77, like Beverly Hillbillies, full of all my stuff. And I kept it for a while and then tried to sell it. And it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre van, and no takers. Nobody would take it. And if I just kept it until today, I'd be rich.
It's along those lines. I eventually got my career going, and I bought a Claire NPR, which is the same camera we use to shoot this. And every time somebody sells that, they sell it as it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre camera. And then people will contact me, "Hey, I just bought your camera. You shot Texas Chainsaw Massacre." They said, "Well, it was my camera, but it's not the one we shot."
Oh, you should just change that and let them believe it.
Really? You think? Okay, Ted. Next call, I'll refer them to you.
Really, it's called myth making.
Tell them it's haunted or something. That's it.
Well, but it's on the record that we took the cameras out of the University of Texas.
Yeah, that's
That
it. Yeah. And that you stole it and sold the University of Texas.
Yeah, that would not be good.
Yeah, that would not be good.
All is forgiven by now, I'm sure. What was this place? It was a real barbecue gas station pit stop place.
I think it was.
I'm trying to remember where it was. When I go back to Austin, I kind of go, where in the hell was this place?
I don't think any of these locations still exist for us.
Oh, it
Yeah.
does. It's still there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That one is?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. We went
Still
back and
looks
shot it for
like
the
the same?
documentary. Yeah, it looks just like that.
Really?
Yeah. I couldn't tell you where it is because I was being driven around.
Uh-huh.
Took you on a tour today of the chainsaw sites?
Oh, yes.
Chainsaw? The house, we understand, got moved and became a steakhouse in Kingsland, Texas. Does it still exist?
Yes, it does. It's for sale at the moment.
Really?
Is it in Kingsland or is it down?
No, it's in Kingsland. It got moved to Kingsland and then became a restaurant. Yeah.
My tank's empty.
I never went there. Did they talk it up as the Chainsaw House, or did they keep it quiet?
They certainly didn't when I was there, but that was 14 years ago now.
Wasn't
but
it originally a restaurant in the same location where we shot? It started out as a restaurant there.
I don't
Might
know.
have been.
I thought it moved.
so.
I thought it got moved.
I think it, yeah, it got moved. I know, yeah, it got moved a couple of times, I think.
Jim Cedo, brilliant man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the professional actor on this shoot.
He really was.
Yeah, grand old man of Texas theater.
And he was also one of those people that was like just really solid and quiet, professional, and got it done. I think, as best as he could, set a good example for the rest of us.
Yeah, so he didn't mind that he was working with, as he put it in my documentary, a bunch of kids.
If he did, he never said anything to us. I don't recall. It's like, I'm sure we were obnoxious little twerps, but
Yeah, we were film school brats.
yeah.
And Toby was sort of, did he go to film school, or was he like self-made Austin legend filmmaker?
I'm trying to remember if Toby had gone and I know he didn't graduate, but he had a production. He was with that production company that I can't remember.
Yeah, Pickle.
Pickle, okay, and they shot just about everything around that was being shot in those days.
I don't believe Toby ever went to the University of Texas for film school. I'm pretty sure he didn't. He was more a self-taught guy, and actually had been shooting some stuff himself.
Yeah, he'd already made a feature before this and some documentaries. and things like that.
Eggshells.
Eggshells, yeah.
And of course, he had the old ham, his camera.
And what about Kim Henkel? Anybody, like, we don't mention him too much in the...
He's still pretty active.
Is he?
He's teaching or something, teaching screenwriting?
Well, he does that, but he also is, every so often I hear he's producing pictures. People call me up and say, hey, could you put in a good word with Kim for me? I'm trying, they're going to have me in for a casting session.
Wow.
So he's still producing and writing and possibly even directing, I'm not sure.
Yeah, he was
Oh, that's good.
Toby's partner at the time, yeah.
How was the relationship between the two of them on the set?
Oh, it was good.
They were close, yeah. I
They
mean,
were close.
they would go consult with each other for hours before we'd start shooting, just to kind of set up the day's work.
Yeah, they were very close.
What's funny is that if you traveled outside of Austin in these days, it wasn't so different from the way it was presented in this movie. You could get into some serious tangles with some seriously weird rednecks.
Yeah, I mean, again, not so much Larry, but Ted and I were, we were serious hippies we were at the time, and we were pretty sure that if the rednecks ever got a hold of us, they would have their way with us. And and basically, this film is about that fear.
Yeah, that's what would happen if you don't
Yeah, I mean,
if you leave
it's
Austin.
true. It's true. We believe that, because, well, Ted lived in Dallas. My wife at this time, Dorothy Pearl, she was a makeup artist on the picture. She lived in Houston. She was from Houston. So all of us used to make these journeys on occasional weekends. And we were pretty sure if our cars broke down in between, it was death for us. It was over. So this is a pretty real fear that we had.
Franklin, if we run out of gas before we get back to that service station, you're towing us back to the gym.
I'm happy to say I don't think one line was ADR'd in this movie. There was no dialogue replacement. It was all location sound.
I think you're right.
That's very good, man.
Pretty amazing.
You think that guy's just trying to scare us?
Especially driving around that noisy car.
Shoot, no kidding, man. I forgot how many scenes we had to shoot in this van. What month did we start shooting? Because it was hot, as I recall.
I think, I think it was July.
I think it was started in July, yeah.
Yeah, I think we started in July.
And it wasn't going to
See
get
the
any
heat.
hotter, so we started then.
You can see, all right. It seems to be a popular time to shoot Texas Chainsaw Massacre, July in Texas.
Okay, I remember this as being the first day of shooting. Actually, wasn't this when the
It was
day of
pretty
the
early
house
on.
with the spiders all over the walls?
Yeah, it was. If it wasn't day one, it was in the first couple of 3 days.
And that house was just like that. That wasn't a Bob Burns creation.
That's the way it was.
That's the way it was. Yeah.
And it was nice to remember the house was literally cool inside because it's made these huge limestone blocks, which is the way that the pioneers made their houses. And it retained the coolness from the evening and insulated it from the sun during the day. Sort of.
So, in addition to being the editor, you were on the set as well, Larry.
Yeah, I went out on the set conferring with Toby and just actually trying to figure out what the hell it was I was going to be looking at on the Steenbeck. It wasn't one of those where you really, there was nothing to go by.
Yeah, I actually think the armadillo shot may have been the first shot we made in the movie, and then we did the sequence with Ed Neal, because we established by this point that the blood that's on the band, so it might have been the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Bob Burns said that the armadillo was the first day of shooting because he mentioned the dead horse and he thought that was a good omen and that you should use the horse.
That's Bob Burns all the way, man. He used to go garage sailing with me here in Los Angeles, and the first thing he would ask anybody is, "You got any bones?"
Bob Burns' bones. He gave me a whale bone once, a whale vertebra.
Wow.
That thing stunk so bad.
A lot of these bones came from a veterinarian that my ex-wife was working for, and he used to charge people to bury their pets, and then he had a big pile he'd throw them in. So it wasn't a very cool thing he was doing, but
This was
that's where a lot of the bones came from, the pile.
this was real too. You walk into that house and there were these legions of daddy longlegs.
Daddy Longlegs,
Yeah, it was Daddy Longlegs. They were there. That was totally something we found. That was not in the script, and no idea. And I'd never seen anything like it before or since.
Thank God.
Hey!
So now here's your first chance of like working on an interior and working with lights to kind of light up that interior. What were you doing there?
All I had was, I had open-faced, what known as blondes, 2,000 watt open-face lights with either dichroic filters or full CTB, which neither one are very perfect correction for daylight, but both take quite a bit of light away. So it was, I always tell people this situation had a lot to do with the look at the picture, how little I knew, and the technology at the time that sort of lended to this kind of very documentary look.
2Ks? Well, 2K was like the biggest lights you had?
Until we went to nights. When we went to nights, they gave me 2 5Ks and 1 10K. I thought I could burn Austin down. I thought it was so bad. Now I use that for lunch or for breakfast.
So while we were shooting, Larry, you were kind of in the cutting room by yourself. How did that evolve
Pretty much just,
when Toby came?
Syncing things up and then running them for Toby. But after the first few days, the production was so hectic, and Toby really did not have the energy or the time to come to the cutting room. I think we only showed dailies once. We said this day, and I think it's the only time that we screened dailies.
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny. Somebody asked me recently about dailies, and I had no recollection of a daily situation.
Yeah.
But you did see the footage while you were making the movie.
I don't even remember that, to be honest with you.
I don't remember
think
ever
so.
going to dailies. No.
Yeah, I think we had that one day. We had everybody came over from this first day, and we looked at it on the Steenbeck, and then that was it. I probably screened scenes and stuff after that for Toby, but not that much really until we got finished.
Oh, so it wasn't for budgetary reasons that the footage wasn't getting processed. It was just that there was no time to.
There was no time.
It was. I reckon we were just beat. We were working. It was hot, and we were working long days to get the work done, and we just didn't have any energy left. It's actually. Well, now there almost are no dailies again. But even when back in, going back 15, 20 years ago, when there were dailies, it always was a thing. Do I need rest, or do I, you got to see the dailies, of course, but really I could use rest. So you hope it's as easy a situation as possible. But for us, we were out in Round Rock. We were, we would have to reassemble in Austin to do dailies. It would just take too much time.
Yeah, there weren't any screening rooms we could use. We had to use the editing room if we were going to look at something. So.
And I don't recollect at all. You had a Steenbeck. Where'd that one come from? Did you rent that?
I think that's the one that we bought for Shootout.
Oh, that's right. I forgot we had one. That's
Yeah.
right. Oh yeah, we had one.
Yeah, so these were the days when you had to be kind of have faith in your cinematographer way more than these days.
Yeah. There was no video tap at this point, so only me, being the one looking through the camera, was the only person I knew exactly what we were shooting. I think it was a great situation because the director always stood right next to the camera. Now it's gotten to the point where the director's off in another world, and sometimes you can't, as a cinematographer, you can't even communicate with the director because
Right.
I don't even know why. It's half the time they set it up with the director's got his back, the monitor's got his back to the set. He's enshrined in these blacks, and I liked it a lot better when the director was right there at your elbow. You could talk to him. You could, you could vibe with each other and you get a feeling for what's going on. Now you're isolated, just like. It's almost like you're out in space, and he's Houston, and you're in a capsule.
Franklin never was little. Gasoline.
Now, how did it work between you and Wayne Bell, Ted?
Wayne, when we were shooting, Wayne was my boom operator, which is like the guy who really manages to get everybody's voice on track. And then as we wound down and started recording some sound effects, he and I would just kind of get together and crash watermelons and do all kinds of stuff like that.
Oh, so you were involved in all the weird sound making that happened afterwards?
Not after it, not
Oh.
with all of the atmospheric sound effects that he did, but for some of the like head crunching kind of stuff, we kind of did some things on set when there was some downtime.
Mm-hmm.
I think Wayne was like a good friend of Toby's, wasn't he? They were like kind of
they were buds.
mentor.
Yeah. I don't remember if Wayne worked with Toby at the Pickle, the place where they had the production company. I think he may have.
Was Wayne in the van as well, or was the van too tight?
No, that van was too tight,
Yeah.
and we were miking everybody with lavaliers.
Mm-hmm.
This little farm was pretty much as is too, wasn't it? All of this broken down, ramshackle stuff.
Yeah. Other than the obvious stuff inside.
Okay, so here's a dolly shot that when we were in film school, we didn't get to do many dolly shots. I don't remember having a great dolly there, but you were kind of going crazy with the dolly here.
We had 60 feet of track, and I use it as often as possible. And I was very happy with what we were able to do there. I had a good dolly grip. He could get me up to full speed in stride or two, and he could stop me in a stride. So I could a lot of that running stuff at night. This when we were shooting this sequence here, all the stuff in front of the house and with the swing. This was the third day back. We were on the shot list. They realized that we're not following the shot list of 2 days before. When we finished shooting this sequence, I had an idea for a shot, which comes up in a few minutes. And Toby thought it was a brilliant idea, and we were going to set up to make the shot. And production said, "What are you guys doing?" And Toby said, "Well, Daniel's had this great idea for a shot." And they said, "No, it's not on the shot list. The 2 days you didn't follow the shot list. We're going to make you follow it." And Toby, God bless him, for this, he said, "You know what?" He goes, "I'm the director. Daniel's the cinematographer. You actually can't stop us. You may fire us, but we're making this shot." And I'll show you as it comes up here. But it's if you were to Google today the the best dolly shots of all times. It still comes up as one of the greatest dolly shots of all times, most pertinent. I've been written up, and I can't even believe the paragraph. The other people that are in the paragraphs that's mentioned. It's crazy. Murnau, Hitchcock, Godard. And
Well, this is also a pretty legendary sequence as far as horror movie sequences
Yes.
go. What do you remember about this?
This is like a lot of it's editorial here, I think, isn't it, Larry? Like
Yeah, a lot of it is built up. It's an interesting thing about the film is that not too long after I moved out to L.A., I read a review. It was playing at the New Art or someplace, and the reviewer was talking about guts flying and blood and limbs being cut off. And as you can really see in a nighttime sequence, but in point of fact, there's never any contact because we couldn't do it. We didn't know how to do it, and so we had to sell it by just insinuation, which makes it much more powerful.
That was horrifying, particularly horrifying death, I think. Okay, here's a dolly shot.
it's funny, when I was introduced to Steven Spielberg, first thing he wanted to know was about the shot, I guess.
Now, such a perfect shot to come after the killing, because the killing is just, I mean, that's out of nowhere.
Yeah, no, it's a really, I think so too. It's a combination of the two that really makes it so effective.
Yeah.
And the house just grows and grows and grows. And it's like, you can tell the danger's there for sure.
Kurt?
What was this house like before Bob Burns did his thing?
I never saw it before.
It was kind of like just a hippie house where some people were living, actually, and they were living while we were shooting there.
Were they?
Yeah, a guy named Rocky was there, and on our end of the second day, I think he came to me. He goes, "So you guys are out here tomorrow, yeah?" I go, "What?" I go, "What?" And he goes, "They told me I'm going to be here 3 days." I said, "I think they meant 3 weeks." He goes, "Oh, geez, I guess I better tell you. He says, I got 2 acres of marijuana growing out back in the."
It's amazing you never see it on camera. You were very good.
Well, we didn't mess with it. I mean, not while we were working. We were crazy, we were hippies and all that, but still, it's got its time and its place, and it's not on a film set. We were young enough and digging deep as we could into our experience without confusing issues.
However, that was the day of the brownies.
There is the day of the brownies, yes.
Which was the exception. But we were kind of set up on that one.
What was the day of the brownies?
We'll wait till we get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
So this was Bob Burns' masterpiece. This room
Yeah, this
was
room was just-
stinky and horrifying and about as gross as it seems. It really was.
It was funny. I remember Burns. I was out there when we were shooting this, and Burns was just going nuts. He was sure that Toby was going to kill that chicken. And it was like, and it was just, Burns was just beside himself
He
about
probably
that. He was just,
rented it for 25 cents from a neighbor or something.
I don't know. I think Toby was squirting it with an air can or something to get it to move. And,
Ah,
you know, 'cause-
Yeah, we did get a little bit nuts with the dust off there.
yeah.
Now, Bob built all of this furniture at his shop, right? So how did he all this stuff? How did he get it all to set if you had so little resource as far as transportation?
he probably had a truck of some sort.
He must have
'cause
got a
he-
truck because I think he was
he
driving
was
that
a-
old
Get-
Nash Rambler back then.
Yeah, gasoline was 25 cents a gallon at this time.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
So this is the day with your daughter, right, Tom?
Yeah,
Yes.
my wife was catering the film, and my daughter was kind of the requisite Austin hippie baby coming around the set, and it's so horrifying. And she would always come find me on the set when they'd come with lunch, and she ran in on this scene just as Leatherface was starting up the chainsaw, and it freaked her completely out. She went running off the set. I had to go after her, and people were saying, "Look, it's just Leatherface. It's just a mask."
See, I remember this because I could actually hear her screaming. And
Over this.
yeah, over this she screamed so loudly. I think I was shooting this wider shot at the time that it happened.
Yeah, we were doing the
this,
full
yeah,
shot.
this one,
yeah.
this shot here with the zoom in. And when Karina came around the corner and saw this going on,
It's like one of the
And-
most. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, for me it was also like, oh my God, this is, it was scaring the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Because you see, like Larry said, people talk about this film, about how bloody it is and how much gore there is, but there's not. It's suggested,
It's
Toby,
all-
Toby and I, we spoke a lot about. First of all, we couldn't show it. It's not like today. Now you're only limited by your imagination and your budget. You can CG anything. You can make anything happen if you want to. But for us, we couldn't do that. But we also had a strong belief that what we didn't show was scarier than what we showed. That each person would fill in the blanks in their own more horrific way than we could possibly do, because each one would prey upon their own particular fears and make it as horrible as they could in their own mind. So it's really what separates this from a lot of other films, is that it's not. Go ahead.
Makes it much more visceral when you know that hook is gone on your back, and you're trying to imagine how that must feel, but there's no special effects shot or anything there. It's totally your imagination, and the audience gets into it, and it's really painful. Where Karina's probably ruined her life.
She wrote an article about it for Texas Monthly. I think she got she survived.
How old was she when this
She was
made?
2.
Oh, she was 2, and she still remembered it.
Oh, yeah. She has like 3 or 4 specific memories of the.
She screamed really loudly. I'm telling you. We were all freaked out about it. None of us thought it was cool that this happened to his daughter. We all thought, oh my God.
Just hippies doing their Austin thing. I mean, Austin hippiedom was like a unique thing.
It was a unique place.
Also, you know what? I think the sound effects have a lot to do with that. Leaving it to your imagination, but just the snick of the blade going into her
Yeah,
back,
you just
really
hear that little bit. It really
means so
sells it.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This, when I saw this again at the screening at Cannes week before last, the sun flares, sun in and out of the trees, flares. It's quite contemporary. I'd be quite happy to shoot that today, something like that.
Yeah.
What was the reaction like in Cannes?
Oh, they went crazy for it. Toby got like a 5-minute ovation, which he well deserved. Really, I was very happy, really, really happy for him, because it was a fantastic moment. It was basically got a better reception than the Pope would have gotten. It was incredible, and I was really happy about it, because you see, I can't speak for these two gentlemen, but for myself, I had been told that I was not going to ever get a job in the film business. That if I was passionate about cinema, I'd get a master's degree, which is why I went to graduate school, and if I'd teach, and if I was lucky, I'd get grants and make films on the weekends or in the summers, and the opportunity to shoot this film. I mean, this film was immediately, it was a huge big hit. It was a gigantic hit. It turned on television, everybody's talking about it. Sit down in a restaurant, people were talking about it all around you, and basically it set all of us up, I think, with into careers here in Hollywood.
Oh, well, absolutely.
Yeah, and so no matter what, I'll forever be forever indebted to Toby for this opportunity. I told him when he came off at the end of the thing, I told him it was a very interesting moment for us. I gave him a big hug, and I said, it was well deserved. I said, you actually gave me a life.
Yeah, it opened a lot of doors for me when I moved out here and was calling around looking for work, editing work, and it was a lot easier to call people in those days. But people would always say, well, what have you done? And I would say Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and they'd immediately set up a meeting.
Yeah, get in here right away.
Get in right away, because just to talk about it, nothing else.
This sunset stuff, it seems like today you would try to avoid shooting in the middle of the day, which I guess we didn't really have the luxury to do, or you'd silk over things if you're shooting in the middle of the day, but we were shooting straight through.
Yeah, but we're kind of late here.
Late in the day, yeah.
Yeah, because if you look at the overhang shadow, see that shadow's not that low.
Yeah.
So it was pretty late.
Well, it looks to me like it's all, you're lighting this too, really, because his shadow was kind of a shadow on the.
Yeah, but I don't know. We didn't have a lot of lights. That I think might. I would have thought we didn't have. Well, there's double
There's
a
two
shadow.
shadows, yeah.
That's lit. That's lit there.
Quit playing games. Quit goofing on me. Pam, is that you? Okay, you guys. Come on out. Come on.
So even though you were inexperienced, the cast and the crew and everybody was taking it very seriously.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This was our first big shot at making a movie, and that's kind of what we set out with our lives to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about you guys. I was pretty sure another one would come along in a few months. There'd be another picture just like it. This is where we're going to roll, but
Yeah.
it didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
Do you remember that the cast wouldn't see Leatherface before they actually met him on screen, so they had that kind of shock effect?
Well, I know Gunnar, talking to him about it, that he tried to stay separate from the cast because of that. He didn't want them to become comfortable with Leatherface. Wasn't it in the first take of back where he hits him, Bill over the head with the hammer? I think he dove under the table. He was so scared. The actor was just like terrified going under the table.
Well, Gunnar is a giant of a man. He's a poet. He's a very gentle giant, but he's a giant of a man. But he could wield that chainsaw like it was a toothbrush. I mean, really, it didn't look like it weighed any more than a toothbrush did in his hand. It was crazy.
Did Burns come up with that, with the mask, with the Leatherface mask, or
Yeah.
I think it was Burns.
I think
that
it was Burns
made
that made the mask, yeah.
rather than
It's
Dottie.
a pretty amazing
Yeah,
creation.
he made 3 of them, and he did all kinds of research into the way that skin would actually dry, and also he put the coat hanger in the mouth because he wanted it to be what Leatherface would do if he was making it, as opposed to an artist.
Uh-huh.
Tell me a bit more about Bob Burns as a person. He seemed like quite a unique individual.
He was a true eccentric Texas weird guy, and
Yeah.
a really great artist, a graphic artist, and always had a art studio and managed to make a living at it. But then he kind of went off into the horror film world, and it suited him perfectly. You know, did you hang out with him much in Austin?
I know. I mean, he did brilliant work for us on this picture, and went on to work with a lot of well-known horror directors afterwards.
Probably based on the power of this film, I imagine.
Yeah, he was on The Hills Have Eyes,
Hills
and
Have
The
Eyes.
Howling, and
Right.
Reanimator.
Yeah. And there's a memorial service for him. I don't know if you were there, Larry, but Ted, you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
I was out of town, I think, when it.
Wes Craven came, and Joe Dante. These guys, they came to. He did really well for himself, and because he was a hard worker and did good work. That's really what it takes.
But he had a unique vision. I mean, this movie would not be the same movie if Bob Burns hadn't been working on it.
True.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
He really got into it. I didn't know Burns, I think, before the film, but from quite a bit after that. And we worked on a number of projects together.
He restored pinball machines. That was like his big passion too. So he had the biggest collection of pinball machines.
Oh, Larry, didn't you saw a specific pinball machine at his shop when you first met him?
Yes. If you walk in, it's the Deep Throat pinball machine at Linda Lovelace. Actually, it's a real double take.
So what's it do with that flashlight? Did you
The flashlight.
jack up the flashlight or what?
We had to jack it up crazy. It's a 650 watt Sunglun hand light battery operated bulb in there. last week I was shooting by candles, actually using the candles to shoot. And
Wow.
we had to use 650 watt light bulb. It was so hot that you couldn't. It would get so hot you couldn't. You had to be careful how you held it, because if you held it out near the front, you would just burn your hands. They're about to go into this forest that we had, and we basically laid this 60 feet of track, and we shot every which way possible. We shot off the left side, off the right side, going forwards, going backwards. And set up the lights on scaffolding towers, and basically a huge percentage of all this night stuff is shot in that same stretch, 60-foot stretch of the dolly track. Sometimes we put in some foreground pieces, sometimes we take them out, but we didn't. It's probably our most efficient thing that we did in the course of making the film.
The only efficient thing.
Maybe the only efficient thing. Well, I don't know why. I've shot quite a few horror films, but they're always in the summer, which is the shortest nights. And, so
they're always night shoots. Yes.
Yeah, there was a lot of night in horror films, but some reason we always shoot them in the summertime when there's only not even 8 hours of darkness.
Of course, it was warm at night too in New Texas.
Yeah.
I got a really sort of grim note from a Canadian crew once about a show in Canada, and they said it's wintertime and night shoots are really brutal.
Ooh, they're horrible.
Cold and long. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and they said, did not want any more written for that show. I said, okay, I can understand that.
So this was an existing little thicket that you lit, or did Burns move stuff in?
Well, there's some of both. We went to an existing thicket, and then Burns would put pieces in and out to change it up.
Yeah, because really well done. You never realize that you're shooting the same 60-foot stretch.
Yeah.
And there's always.
Now, did Marilyn Burns? She didn't come from Austin, did she? She came with the production from where? Houston or Dallas? Do anybody remember?
I don't know. I think she lives around, or was living around Austin.
She was a trooper in this film.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she worked hard.
She worked hard.
Sally, I hear something. Stop.
Okay, here's the perfect example
That's
of
it.
what Daniel was saying about don't see anything really.
Yeah. Yeah, Toby and Dottie, the makeup artists, are on either side of the camera, throwing blood at him, and eventually they start spitting it at him, right? They were like throwing blood. And they both had cups of blood. You don't see any gore, but we did go through 5 gallons of blood that was made in making the picture. And a lot of it went to Burns to dress the set. The kitchen set in particular is dressed with a lot of blood. But there was a total of 5 gallons of blood made for this.
And there's a lot of flies in Austin too that love that sugar water.
They love that blood.
But one of the things I like about this kill, right, it's fourth kill, I guess it is, yeah? Franklin, is that Toby and I talked about that when the first time you saw Leatherface in this, you want to see him in the middle of the frame, because that makes people jump, if the evil or the terror makes an entrance left or right, that's effective, but not as effective when you first see it. It's already in the middle of the frame. It's like, whoa, you really jump for it. That's effective here. It's close cut. I don't know, Larry. Maybe you remember. Is the light is just sort of Franklin's light, the flashlight, just coming onto him as you cut it.
Coming through you cut, yeah.
So it's just.
He's raised the flashlight and it's right on the cut.
Yeah,
the
so
light
it's
comes
right
up.
on the cut. Light hits him on the cut. So it's like. I think if you were able to still frame it, would there be a frame of darkness or something there, or is it just that tight on?
I don't know. There probably would be. There might be a frame of darkness in there before he steps into it.
I think that one's quite effective. That's one where people sort of jump out of their seats. They don't expect it.
Yeah.
How was Marilyn's energy level as time went on with all this screaming, days and days?
She managed to keep it up. She really
screamed.
never flagged. I mean, like she was like.
At a certain point, I was going, well, all I'm recording now from this night onward was screaming and chainsaw sound effects. And she never really lost her voice, I don't think, even.
No. It took a lot out of her. It was hard to do. I remember there's...
Physical, yeah.
Yeah, physically it was...
It was really hard. This, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the night of the brownies, yeah? And,
it might be.
and
Did my ex-wife bring brownies to the set?
Your ex-wife brought brownies to the set.
and Toby and I went off, rather than have dessert, we went off to just talk about the next setup. It was nighttime. So Toby and I didn't eat the brownies, and nobody knew what the brownies were laced. And so I remember just Toby and myself and Gunnar shooting, and everybody else was laying around laughing, or people were laying all over the place, laughing and laughing and laughing.
I think this was a 26-hour day.
No, the dinner
no,
scene.
the dinner
okay.
scene, yeah.
Okay, the game before this, yeah.
That was Bob Burns' girlfriend, Mary Church, who was
Who did the- yeah.
stunt
did the
double.
stunt there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a real sweetheart. I talk to Mary every once in a while.
So did you know that your ex-wife was bringing brownies, or that was just a
No,
bit of
sir.
fun?
I swear to God, I knew nothing about it, and I would be so angry if I knew
Well,
that.
you know, I think that she thought it was like the last day it was going to be the wrap, and so she kind of wanted to make it special, and she didn't realize that
This was only lunchtime
it was only lunchtime.
in a 12 or 14-hour
Yeah.
day.
Right, and you know, she was an excellent cook, so probably people ate more brownies than they should have.
Yes.
Yeah, brownies were all gone by the time I got to the set that day. People were like really, they were really messed up. I think there were only about 3 or 4 of us that hadn't tried the U, and I don't think Toby had any.
No, because we didn't know what they were. We didn't know anything about them. We just went off to go
Yeah.
get back to work because it was short nights. You know?
And
I don't think Bob Burns had any either.
No, I don't
yeah,
think so.
and,
No, Burns was not a partaker, yeah.
and Bozeman hadn't, and I hadn't. I think it was the night that I wound up being an assistant director.
This is another iconic shots coming up here on it. This one and the one that follows like it afterwards. It's 200 millimeter lens that stacks them up. In particular, it is next time you see it. Let's see here. That's a shot that people always find to be quite a strong shot.
Where she's running full speed
Yeah,
and
full
Gunner's
speed,
having to like
yeah.
slow
Having
down a little
slow
bit.
down.
And we're on this slow old f4 200 millimeter lens that we had, and it's going in and out of focus. I think I'm probably pulling focus myself. People ask me, you know, how'd you get it? I said, well, if you look at it closely, I actually didn't get it perfectly.
Which only adds to the documentary realism of it all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, my recollection, the first time Marilyn came running in here, we had a fresh load of film up, and we rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled, and she screamed and screamed and screamed and screamed, and Toby never cut. I think we shot the entire roll.
Of her hysterical?
Her hysterical.
Yeah.
I think it was the whole 11
Yeah,
minutes. It would have
I
been.
think you're right. I think it was the whole thing. There
The whole roll of film, and Toby was just so mind blown by it. He was just standing there,
And she never
and she never stopped.
she never broke character. She never you know.
Yeah.
Area weather is expected to continue warm and clear to partly cloudy through tomorrow with no chance of precipitation in the immediate forecast. High today should be in the upper 90s. Expected low tonight of 81 degrees. Our current temperature is 96 with a wind out of the southeast at 3 miles an hour. Humidity barometer 29.9 and rising. Acting on a tip from Clyde P. with
How are the sentiments towards Toby on the set? Because he mentioned in the commentary we did a couple of weeks ago that people were definitely getting angry with him, and he thought that was a good thing for the tension. It may have been more of the.
That's funny. So he enjoyed it, huh?
Yeah, that's what he said. It was a good thing.
By this time, I think we had already burned through the whole budget, and they asked us to come back for another couple of weeks of shooting for deferred pay, which ended up being a great thing because we ended up getting a little piece of the film, which has paid off big time over the years. But but you know what? We were like snotty film students who just thought everybody else was stupid and we were smart. No, I don't know, maybe Daniel didn't, but that was the feeling, So when we saw that we were going way over schedule, way over budget, and the plan seemed to be kind of improvisational, maybe we were a little bit creepy about it,
Yeah, for me, I was really up to my eyeballs in it,
just trying
doing
to
it, trying to do it, So I wasn't, I was cool with it all. Whatever was going on was fine. I was just trying to stay alive, get it done. And it's funny because at that time I thought I knew a lot about light, and we did for a couple of weeks bring a lighting technician came in, a gaffer came in to help with it, but he left before we finished. And there's some stuff that where I started getting, there's actually a scene coming up that was my idea, and that I like a lot. I still to this day think is some really good work that I did, and so talk about it. But I was just trying to, what I had going for me was a strong sense of composition and a good idea for camera moves. So that I had that going for me. Light, not so much so, but as Ted said, it just only lends to the documentary feeling, which just makes it that much more believable. But I will only one more time mention the remake, but I went totally the other way in the remake just to prove a point. I would totally get a very stylized look to it.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted me, they all said, it'd be gritty and grainy like the original. I said, well, do you want to shoot 16? They said, you're not shooting 16. Are you crazy? It's a Michael Bay production. I said, well, then it's not going to be gritty and grainy. It's going to be the MTV version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Did you know at this point in your career, Ted, that you were going to be a director, or were you into sound?
No, I did sound to make some money, but I studied to be a director in film school and was hoping that would be where my career would go, and kind of took a turn into editing for a while before I got to direct. But I directed films in school at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's when I came out. I was the classic film school graduate. I going to direct, and I actually did. It took 3 years or something, 4 years, and I directed a movie and finished it, and I said, that isn't what I thought it was going to be like.
Not as much fun as you thought, or what?
I was just sort of like, a director's a deal maker. You're making all these deals, and you say, okay, I want to, bring me a blue car, and somebody says, well, we forgot the blue one and brought a yellow one and a green one. Which one do you want? and so you gosh, But I really enjoyed on that film. I enjoyed the storytelling part, the scripting. So I focused on that.
What I can tell you as a cinematographer is you have to have a good director. No matter what, you don't make good films without a good director. No matter what I do, if the directing's not there, not solid, it's just not going to work.
Yeah. No, I mean, it seems like the relationship between director and cinematographer is like director and editor, same thing, like marriage. You really got to that's your closest ally.
Yes. How long were you editing this film for, Larry?
Forever and a day.
Didn't it go on for a year or something?
It went on for a long time. One of the points that I had to quit because I couldn't survive on no money and no sleep.
Well, so you would work all day and then work into the night? Because Toby was like kind of a madman.
Toby was
worker.
a vampire.
Yeah.
He would wake up and have breakfast at 6 p.m. and we'd work all through the night. Then, of course, during the day, we'd finish up like 4 or 5 o'clock, and then I would have to, other things, not being a vampire, and not having someone to take care of my.
And this is the day of analog editing, so put a frame in, take a frame out, put a frame in, take a frame out. Well, you can only do it if you have that frame.
Yeah.
not like today. Now, coming up here, somebody happened to be outside the house one night, and I guess 2 cars drove up, and I saw this, what you're about to see from the front. So I put 2 lights, two 1,000 watt lights on the front of rigged them on the front of the vehicle, and shot this, and I think it's really effective.
It's really
It's really effective. Yeah, no, it's really.
Was that natural dust, or did you put?
No, it's the dust. That was the natural dust. I think they kicked up.
Yeah.
It was dusty enough. That's how I saw it. When I think one car had gone by, made the dust, and another car came in, and I saw, oh my God. And
you were driving with those 2Ks?
Yeah, you can see the 2Ks bouncing. The Fresnels, they were bouncing. Yeah, now it's back to headlights. They're not bouncing.
They're
also not lighting. Yes. Not bouncing and not lighting.
So this humor seems like really particularly Toby-esque kind of humor, like crazy-ass redneck humor or something,
Toby still thinks it's a comedy as far as he's concerned.
I remember in the editing room, we were laughing all the time. I was like...
in Con, on the Ed Neal, not Ed Neal, the first kill, the audience laughed their asses off.
When they
First
killed
kill?
Bill Vale?
Bill Vale gets killed, yeah. Yeah.
After, at the end of it, like releasing tension, or like during it, they...
No, it's...
Jesus. It's a scary thought.
It probably wasn't the first screening for anybody. Probably it was... These people are all really serious fans.
I thought you was in a hurry. Where are the kids? Where are they? Show me.
That's a strange angle to have the overhead angle of the action there, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a small space, and to get another wide shot, we just go up in the air to try and stretch it out a bit. We were definitely about these bizarre angles.
I like that you used a wide-angle lens a lot, more than people use these days, almost.
Right. We had an 8mm lens that was the equivalent of a 16mm and a 35mm camera, and I like the design of this shot too. It's nice. It starts here, goes over there, goes to the stairs, and comes back.
Makes it a little hard for the boom operator.
But he did it. He was recording screams anyway, so like...
Yeah. I know I could have packed up about a week before we finished shooting and just gone with what I had already recorded.
Now this stuff you saw earlier in there, you saw in Ed Neal's the hitchhiker. He's gone upstairs to get bring Grandpa down. Grandpa John Duggan, I think.
Mm-hmm.
John Duggan, yeah.
Dottie did the makeup job on him, and it was her first time to put on these prosthetics. She had cast his face, done a plaster positive of his face, sent it to Hollywood, had the prosthetic pieces made, but then she was applying them, and it takes some time. But I think it was it 7 or 8 or 9? It was somewhere between 7 and 9 hours. I forget what it was.
It was a long time.
But he was very unhappy that he was sat there for so long. And we started off in the morning. It was daytime. We started shooting, and he refused to go through the makeup a second time. So we had to shoot him out. of the film, and that's we did. My recollection, 27-hour day.
It was
It
something
was
like
27 hours. It was
27
was, yeah.
hours to.
In this closed space
hot
with
space.
rotting head cheese and chicken heads. And speaking of your veterinarian friend,
Oh, yeah.
Burns had like commissioned of some dead dogs
Right.
that he wanted to put in there, but they were too smelly. And so then they dug a pit out behind the barn and tried to burn them. So the whole time we're shooting this, there's also burning dead dog
Yeah,
smell.
burning flesh of dead dog. They're trying to not cook it, but burn it.
Just smoking, kind
Yeah,
of.
right. It was terrible.
It really added the ambiance, I think.
But literally, this is a super hot day, probably 105, 106, maybe more, and this head cheese on the plates, and
And
you know,
poor Gunner is like stinking up the room
Yeah,
too,
poor
you know,
Gunner is-
sweating like crazy.
Yeah, and I don't think his wardrobe was ever washed during the.
Yeah,
Because
you're
there were
right.
there were no,
We didn't have a costumer. Or
Yeah, I was going to say, do we even have a wardrobe? Or anything?
I don't remember.
No.
I don't remember. They may still be out there. They were. It always hurts me when it is. Now Gunnar insists that that's a real cut.
Really?
He says that the knife, the prop knife wasn't working, and he and Marilyn were getting frustrated, and so she just said, "Just go ahead and cut it, damn it."
Jesus.
Like,
I think.
really?
Wow.
I have a hard time believing.
Yeah,
that.
I'm with
I don't know.
Because
I know
it's-
my fingers hurt.
No
every
one
time.
Marilyn at the time. She
No,
was-
in Maryland also because it's the same knife rig that Ed Neal had in the van,
Yeah,
and we'd already worked it out for that. So,
it was already working. That's what I thought too. But
yeah.
that's,
Well, who's going to argue with Gunnar? If he's not here, we can doubt it, but if he's here,
yes,
we
right.
Right, yeah.
Did you read his book?
can. I did.
Yeah, did a good job. That whole armchair singing is now this
Oh.
one this was when we shot a lot of stuff on. As I recall, we shot.
So it looks like it's lit by this table lamp in the center. Is this
It's-
available light, or is
It's bulbs. Well, they're photo floods. They're super bright bulbs in there. 250 watt.
because there was a ceiling? You weren't able to hang lights from the ceiling, right?
She's not top lit at all. She's very front lit. See, not much of a. I'm using that light in the middle as a source. Although that's not providing light all the way. There was a light for her.
Mm-hmm.
She's probably in a 1K.
Now, Larry, didn't you mention that you shot some inserts at your office?
We did it
for this
at the
scene?
shootout office. At one point, Toby wanted a lot of close-ups on Marilyn freaking out here, and we shot for several hours. You shot that, right?
No.
No.
So some of these close-ups are like recreated
Recreated
backgrounds?
in
Yeah,
it.
recreated.
Yeah, remember we had that big room in the shootout that
Yeah.
we used that and set it up, and Burns created the background.
Wow.
And
Good.
These eyeball shots,
yeah,
which are very effective. And I don't know that anybody else was doing that in films either at that time. I think it may have been original idea to get
Huh.
that close on an eyeball.
yeah. Poor Marilyn. I remember everybody packed up and left. And she was still kind of like in freak out mode. You're a real trooper.
Didn't see that.
It was great.
Oh,
It was like
this.
Yeah.
the one adult is this wacko.
Now, what did you guys think when you first saw the movie? I mean, obviously you'd been seeing it in editing, but when you guys saw it
I was
projected,
amazed. Yeah,
It was pretty amazing when it all
Really
came together.
effective, really effective film.
What was fun was seeing it with an audience the first time.
Yeah, that was great fun.
Yeah.
now this day went on for 26 or 27 hours or whatever. I mean, did you ever think you were just not going to get what you needed?
Well, we were told by Doug and Grandpa that he was refused to have the makeup again, so we had no choice really.
So you just had to keep going.
We had to do it.
Yeah.
There was nothing we could do about it.
That was one of the moments when you feel like you're just like at the mercy of insanity, you know, and you don't know how long it's going to go. At 27 hours, it could have easily gone another 5 or 6.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
Of course, we were,
We were young.
I was 23.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, I understand it was Jim Cito's last day as well, so
There was some
two
pressure
reasons.
on it. Yeah.
yeah, because I'm sure Jim had a real life.
Well,
Outside the movie.
stage commitments probably in
Yeah.
Houston.
One thing Jim brought too is he was very professional, and he always respected Toby. He never flinched or sneered or made fun and rolled his eyes. He was a good example. Oh, the rest of the cast is pretty amazing, really.
What, like when you cut a scene, Toby's like, I'm sure very fond of cutting and recutting and finessing and trying something different and all of that. How many times would you cut one sequence?
It depended on the scene. Some stuff just went together very quickly, and that was the way to do it. And other scenes, like this one, we had so much footage.
Yeah.
And it was it's not like today where you push a button and pull up the other angle. Yeah, that was usually one thing I had to do at the end of the day when we were editing, was reassemble everything that we had cut out and put it back in place, so we know where it was.
Jesus.
And none of it was coded, so
You didn't code you had no edge coding?
had no edge coding.
Wow.
Never heard of edge coding.
To save one frame trims, and that would be
It was,
a nightmare.
yeah.
Who was your assistant? Jim was Mary Church working with your assistant?
No, Sally did. Sally came in and helped with that, but mostly it was just me, myself, and I. Boy, there's a lot of energy in that scene.
What was the guy who was living in the house thinking at this point?
I don't remember seeing him too often.
No, I think they put him in a hotel once. Once I let the cat out of the bag that we were not leaving tomorrow.
And that was Mary again who did that stunt as well, right?
Mary.
Yeah, Mary Church, yeah.
pretty much towards the end of the shoot when you're shooting this stuff.
This was the end of the shoot, I believe. I think that Gunner, the end shot is the last thing we shot, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Longtime Austin music legend Ed Gwynn.
Band of Conqueror.
So you knew of him at this point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was like we were all into the music scene in Austin, and he was definitely one of the early Austin hippie musicians. Oh, I remember spending a lot of time on this
doing that,
shot.
yeah.
That's the only graphic moment.
I had put a brisket, and a blood bag under
brisket, and it's some sheet metal. Brisket, blood bag, brisket, sheet metal, leg. That was the layers.
And he actually got burnt because the sheet metal
It might
got
have,
so hot.
heated up.
might have got
Oh,
so hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you have a cameo coming up here, Larry?
I think so. And at the back of my head does anyway.
Is that you in the truck?
Well, there was another guy that did the driving, and I don't remember now what the deal was that he had to couldn't do the whole thing, and so there was like one sequence there where it changes over. I forget what it was, or one shot.
Can you talk about shooting this last scene, Daniel?
This is a very wild moment because I'm watching a movie, right? I'm there, but at the same time I'm watching this, and everybody's telling me that he came so close to cutting my head off in the process of doing that, but I was just so into what I was shooting that I was oblivious to the danger. I think it's it's rather effective sequence, brief as it is. I remember it being longer, but we shot it for a lot longer.
The shot went on longer.
We shot it a lot longer, a lot of swinging. And
But you chose to cut to black right as the
Yeah.
chainsaw's swinging towards the camera.
That's a choice they made.
Okay, how do you feel about watching this film after all these years, 40 years later?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I watched it. It's a great movie. I mean, it's really not to pat ourselves on the back, too much, but it's amazing. There aren't many horror films that are that effective, that just have that nightmarish quality.
And that stick with you so effectively, because watching it again, it's like, oh yeah, I remember every shot of this movie,
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just saw it like the 40th anniversary screening at Cannes Directors Fortnight, but it's great. It's great to watch every time. It's never boring. The film's very effective. It just works, and
Now the film it never drags. It never stops. It never ceases. There's never a moment where just everything goes to spaghetti. It's just very taut, constantly moving.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.